Welcome to Busy Bride 101, wedding planning tips for the bride on the go. And I'm your host, Lisa G. McMillan, wedding and event planner at Exquisite Events and Consulting. I've worked in this industry for over 15 years, and planning weddings is simply my passion. If you're in the market for sensible advice and budget-friendly tips to get you through planning your wedding, well, you're listening to the right podcast. My intention is to shine a bright and loving beacon on a task that's keeping you up at night. I'm here to help, to inspire, and to offer a shoulder to lean on when the thought of working through your wedding details feels overwhelming. So let's figure it out together. Today's episode is entitled, Getting to the Wedding, Time-Saving Transportation Solutions. If you're listening to this podcast, you're either a bride, groom, guest, or vendor, and each of you need to get to the wedding on time. On time is not synonymous to fashionably late, and here's my advice for each of you. Tip number 1. As the bride, arriving to the ceremony by way of a vintage car, trolley, personal vehicle, or even a horse and carriage requires logistical planning and should be included on your wedding timeline. For instance, if you're hiring a professional service to get you to and from the event, ask if there is a minimum number of hours to use their service. This request comes in handy if you only need their service to get you to the ceremony and not for your grand departure after the reception. Let me provide you with an example. If the hotel in which you are getting ready is only 15 minutes away from the ceremony location and the transportation contract has a minimum of 2 consecutive hours to use their service, then ask yourself, is it worth it in your budget to spend the money on 2 hours of service? Here's how I get around the 2 consecutive hours loophole. Use the vehicle to make an additional trip to pick up the groom and his best man from the hotel. They need to get to the wedding too. Tip number 2. Grooms, keep in mind that the bride wants to uphold the tradition of not seeing you prior to the ceremony. So when you and your groomsmen are traveling to the ceremony location, try this idea. Send a text, something like, "On my way," to the wedding planner or to the maid of honor to let them know you're in transit to the venue. Then, once you're on site, but before you get out of the vehicle, send another text like, "I'm here," to the wedding planner and maid of honor to let them know you have arrived. This simple set of texts, which only takes seconds to send, can alleviate any potential stress for your beautiful bride. Tip number 3. If you decide to provide a bus, trolley, or shuttle for your guests, keep the number of pickup locations to 2 to 3 spots. It's one thing to transport 50 guests back and forth multiple times, but a totally different ball of wax when there are 150 or more guests. I recommend the pickup locations to be fairly close in proximity. Supply the transportation company with the exact address of the pickup and drop-off locations. As an added feature, have someone on site in the lobby or near the main entrance of the pickup location to guide the guests onto the shuttles. Here's a pro tip. Ask the driver to announce where they are going before departing the venue. Also, display a sign on or inside the vehicle with the name of the event for reassurance you're in the right spot. Tip number 4. At the reception, display a sign at the bar and near the main exits to inform guests of the shuttle schedule during the evening. If you have a band or a DJ, provide them with the shuttle schedule and request for them to make a couple of announcements during the night. Tip number 5. Don't forget, the transportation schedule should be printed in your wedding timeline so that the representative at the venue is aware of the types of vehicles entering their property. The venue representative can help to identify the appropriate areas for large shuttles or any buses to park and stage their vehicles during the night. Tip number 6. If your venue has multiple events occurring the same time as your reception, it's possible the guests will hop on the wrong bus. That's why proper signage and having someone assigned to shepherd guests to the right vehicle is crucial. And if I have to say, it's just smart. Tip number 7. Get the cell phone number of your driver in case you need to contact them. If they are running behind due to unexpected traffic or inclement weather conditions, you'll want to know where they are and how it impacts them getting your guests safely to and from their destination. Tip number 8. Vendors such as caterers, photographers, florists, DJs, cake bakers, etc. need to know the exact location of your event. Please make sure each of them have the correct address, telephone number, and area in which they are to provide their services. By having this information, it cuts down on circling the block to figure out the loading areas, and it decreases the time discussing parking with the valet service or security personnel. Believe me, vendors appreciate knowing what time to show up and what time to break down. Thanks for listening to Busy Bride 101, Wedding Planning Tips for the Bride on the Go. To keep up with us and learn more tips, visit our website at www.exquisiteevents.info and on Instagram at Exquisite Events Consulting. Subscribe to get notified of new episodes and share with your friends. Always remember, your wedding is for the two of you.